And this is a question that we have to answer for ourselves, because I believe that we are not going to extinguish ourselves, that we are going to evade the many obstacles that are so obviously ahead of us in the next few years. We are going to reach the threshold of the galaxy, but in what form? And in order for the form in which we reach the edge of the galaxy and present ourselves to the hegemony of organized intelligence that must exist there, in order for that form to be worthy, we are going to have to go with our minds fully illuminated in front of us. And that means that we can have no more truck with the idea of an unconscious, of an inaccessible and dark part of the human psyche that cannot be controlled. That is obviously a description of the childhood of an intelligent species. And I believe that these hallucinogens signal the end of that childhood. There have always been individual shamans who have made that transition, and in that sense, the taking of hallucinogens is an ahistorical phenomenon. It has always been going on. But the idea of psychedelic societies is something new, and it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone takes the drug. It merely means that the complexity and the mysteriousness of mind are centered in the consciousness of the civilization as the mystery which it comes from and which it must relate to in order to be relevant. So I'll take a couple of questions. A coincidence is what you have left over when you apply a bad theory. Any other questions? About this idea that the mind is the central, Well, I guess the question is there any advice vis-a-vis utilization of materials that would allow you to hang on to whatever perceptions I may have triggered in you? I wouldn't presume to answer that question, but I'll answer another one that might relate to it, which is I think that when you take hallucinogens, you should take an effective dose, and I can't stress enough the importance of lying down and being still in darkness on an empty stomach. I mean, if you want an oral empowerment, that's it. Nothing could be simpler, and yet you would be amazed at the number of people who, when you mention psilocybin, the first question that occurs to them is, will I be able to drive? This is... Yeah. One more. Yeah. Which way would you categorize NDA? With regard to what? Well, NDA, the word empathenogen or empathogen seems to me very appropriate. It is not a powerful visual hallucinogen. I'm very interested in the visual hallucinogens because it seems to me they pose certain fundamental questions about information theory and that kind of thing. For instance, where do these hallucinations come from? These extremely intricate, far more intricate than any visual scene that your eye falls upon in ordinary reality. These intricate, ever-shifting information patterns, I don't believe that they can be reduced to spirals, lines, and dots. What I see isn't like that. It's more as though you had a holographic hyperspatial radio and you just tune down the dial, and here's a desert world in a triple star system, and here is a city somewhere inhabited by insectile creatures with a machine symbiosis. Here is something else, and it's just flipping by. I would prefer to believe that the human imagination is the holographic organ of the human body, and that we don't imagine anything. We simply see things so far away that there is no possibility of validating or invalidating their existence. One more.
I was interested in the psychotherapeutic potential for dimethyltryptamine being a short-acting tryptamine. Is there enough time within that peak experience to benefit from any death rebirth experience, or is it, in your opinion, too short-acting drugs have any profound, lasting effect?
No, I think it certainly has a profound and lasting effect. The very brevity of it serves to convince you that it isn't a drug at all, but that it's carried you into another dimension and back again. And that alone is something to ponder. Well, I thank you for your attention.
Wow, what an experience that was for me just now. I think that what struck me most was hearing how very self-assured and self-confident Terence was at what was one of his first major appearances. And think of the company that he found himself in that day. You know, Albert Hoffman, Sasha Shulgin, Richard Evans Schultes, and an audience that, for the most part, had no idea of who Terence was. But as we now know, he soon became quite well known. So well known, in fact, that at the end of the last century, the Utne Reader selected Terence as one of the 100 most influential people of the 20th century. And obviously, he continues to have an impact on the 21st century as well. And when you go back and listen to this talk again, which I'm pretty sure you'll do at some point, try and put yourself in the position Terence was in at the time he gave this talk. You know, he was only in his mid-30s, and I don't know about you, but there's no way I could have sounded that confident at that age and in front of so many psychedelic luminaries. What a heady experience that must have been for him. And what a thrill it has been for me to finally get to hear this talk. I want to give a huge thank you to John S., and I'm sure he wouldn't mind my using his full name, but I didn't think to ask in time for this podcast. But you'll be hearing a lot more about John, as he sent several more audio gems along with the ones we just heard. So thanks to John, you've got some surprises ahead. And John, I can't thank you enough for bringing such a wonderful synchronicity into my life at this particular moment. Listening to these two talks just now has confirmed to me that I'm on the right path. And so, like you, I intend to press on. Well, I've got several emails I'd like to comment on right now, but they'll have to wait until next week, as this podcast has already gone on a bit too long. But I do want to take just one more minute of your time and thank John H., Jill B., and William R., all of whom made very generous donations to help offset some of the expenses of producing these podcasts. I know I've said it before, but without the encouragement and support I received from so many of you, and in particular the kind people who have sent money, equipment, advice, and time, including the time you're taking right now to listen to these programs. You know, it's taken me a long time to do what Joseph Campbell recommended, and that is to follow your bliss. Well, that's just what I'm doing with these podcasts, following my bliss, by sharing some interesting lectures and ideas with my friends. And one more thing, I know that in the past you've had to listen to me complain about how much time it takes to produce one of these podcasts, and I guess I must have even given the impression that I'm about to quit doing them. Well, thanks to all of the great comments I've received from so many people who have had such diverse backgrounds, I'm going to commit to doing at least 100 more programs.